All right, Big Bang. Today is Thursday. It is May 18th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Today, I am joined by Dave from Wheaton. He is a logistics professional. And today we're going to get into some logistics. Welcome on the show, Dave. Thank you for doing this.
It's great to be here. Eddie, is it?
That's
I'm from Warrenville, by the way.
You're from Warrenville. I thought, what was the difference between Wheaton and Warrenville? Was Warrenville the rich side?
No, Wheaton's the rich side.
Oh, okay. You're from Okay. My apologies. Bad start to the interview. I should have known that. But regardless, I'm excited to do this.
Are we going
interview.
to talk some trucks or not?
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be, we're doing a blue-collar job interview. So welcome to the show, Dave.
It's a pleasure to be here. My son, Billy Bellini, he took my ex-wife's name. He set me up with this. Which camera am I looking at?
Dave, you could look at all of them.
He set me up with this, and I don't really know what I'm getting into. Never done an interview before, but here we are.
There you go. Okay, it's going to go on social media, everything like that. We need to tape your videos. So
I don't got none of that shit.
just don't be alarmed. All right. But Dave, how are you? How did you initially? So you're not in the logistics game anymore.
No, I retired from it a couple of years ago.
How old were you when you got into it?
24 years old or so.
24, and then you worked from it to 24 to how
About
old?
29.
So you did 5 years in
5
logistics.
years, yeah.
Okay. Did you like your experience? How would you categorize your experience?
I did enjoy my experience there. It was a cool work environment. A lot of young people, like my same age. It's a sea of people, and many of them, from different Big Ten universities and different large schools in the Midwest, like ISU. It was a cool place to work. You could make a lot of money so long as you worked your ass off, which I like to think I did. And I recommend it to anybody who's looking for their first job out of college.
So that was your first job out of college?
Kinda. I started a business out of college, Chicagoland Chargers, as you know.
Uh-huh.
I've told you about that prior to us recording, but tried to get into the coaching baseball game. It was a nice side income, but not enough to live off of. Wanted to make more money, so in comes the logistics brokerage, and here we are now.
So when it comes to logistics, you always hear about how it's pretty much just I don't know if a meat packing thing is a right analogy, but something where they throw a bunch of cattle at the problem, and it's like the herd just thins because like you really got to be like good at this.
I remember hearing those. It doesn't take some awesome skill set. You don't need some advanced degree to be successful in it.
Yeah.
There was one person I knew in the game, as we called it. He was from Poland, and in Chicago, obviously, we have a large Polish population. I want to say Chicago is the largest city in the world outside of Warsaw itself.
I believe that was true at one point.
At one point.
I don't know if it is anymore.
Yeah, that Polish population, he just had, and for whatever reason, a lot of Poles, they tend to flock to the trucking industry. So this Polish dude, he had he had every one of these trucking companies on the hook. He was making a couple million a year, I heard. I don't know what
Really?
he was making like fuck you money.
Got you. And you're not saying he was some advanced.
No, just a normal guy, but he knew how to wheel and deal. That's what it's about.
So you're 24, in your hiring class, how many people were with you? Did it work like that, or was it like you just started?
No. There was like, I would say 8 or 10 people.
So how far did you make it compared to the rest?
A few of them are probably still working there.
Oh, really?
I heard all the horror stories that everybody did. I took it as a way to kind of try to supplement or complement would be the appropriate word. Coaching baseball at the same time, because it was a 9-to-5 job. You would take work calls and stuff after hours, but you weren't working on weekends typically, so I could still coach and all that. But once I started seeing dollar signs, I'm like, fuck the coaching. Like, I'm gonna.
This is it.
Yeah, this is it. But the turnover wasn't bad at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not really.
Because you always hear that. Because
Yeah.
one thing I found interesting is just how many logistics companies there are.
In Chicago, especially.
Yes.
Like New York's finance Nashville's music, LA's entertainment, Chicago's largely like the brokerage hub of the country.
Oh,
North
no
America.
Shit. I didn't know that, honestly, before this interview
All the
either.
biggest ones are
here?
headquartered here. Yeah.
Because my thing was, you'll meet someone and be like, "Oh, I'm in logistics," and I'm like, "Oh, I'll name
Everybody knows somebody who works in logistics.
Yeah, but I'll even rattle off like
Mm-hmm.
in my head 3 of the bigger ones that I know, like Schneider, Coyote, Echo, and
Yep.
they'll be like, "No, I'm with this one." I'm like, well,
Yeah, there's a ton of
more
small
than
ones.
that.
Oh, yeah.
I-
They're
like-
everywhere. Like little 10-person offices.
Yeah, I was very oblivious
Yeah.
to the fact that how large that
Mm-hmm.
the business was. So I found that interesting. So you come in, you're a runt, so to speak. So is it just like instant cold calls? Because it is.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, Dave from Wheaton, Dave from Warrenville, excuse me. I mean, it's like May 18th.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lot of kids are out of school. There's probably a lot of kids who just got this job.
Yeah,
Like
they're
right after-
probably like right in the interview process,
Yeah.
bringing in the new flock of hens.
So it's kind of a good time to do this.
I didn't know this is what we were doing, but we can talk about it all day. It was honestly, I very much I worked at Echo. I still stay in touch with my boss Carlos. Shout out, he might be listening. I talked to him like 2 weeks ago because I got that settlement check
Yeah.
that I told you about. Loved working for him. He knew how to crack a whip when you need to. He knew how to bust balls when you need to. He's a great boss. Like one of the guys you work hard for,
Yeah.
and don't want to let him down by not working hard, at least in my experience with him. And I recommend it to anybody who's fresh out of college because, I mean, it's not, largely, it does come to an end for most people.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you're not going to work there for 40 years. Most people, find something else. You do get burnt out with it. I would say, like, people assume it's after like a year or so. I could have kept working there right now, and I think I still would have been perfectly happy. But like had Barstool not came up, but I recommend it to anybody who's like
Kind
looking
of
for that first sales
starter
job.
Yeah. So
And you'll make a lot of money so long as you put in a solid year of hard work.
So that's the key. It's the hard work. It's not necessarily.
You can't
like a
just sit and
specific
fuck around, yeah.
Skill set. So you're 24. You get the job, Dave, and now like pretty low base salary at these places, right? It's
40.
Okay,
Yeah.
40. So then commission based. What's like?
Yeah.
What's like the structure on that?
So you have what's called a draw, which is like most sales jobs have a draw.
What does that mean?
So a draw. So after taxes, my salary it was $1,300 or so. Post tax.
Yeah.
So once I made enough sales to cover that $40,000 salary every month, then I started hitting commission. And if you find the appropriate companies that enjoy working with you and that are trustworthy to work with, then eventually you'll get to a point where your book of business runs itself. You can start expanding on it. I got to the point where by 9 a.m. every day, I was pretty much coasting. So
Like you just had all your shit done.
pretty much, yeah.
Really?
It worked itself out, and then I would go try to find new companies to work with.
Yeah.
But
So the draw means that basically you're paying your own salary.
with the commission with the revenue that
deals that
you
you
bring
make.
in, yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird, no?
Yeah, and then once you get to that number, then you start making to make it easy, it's 20% of each sale.
Oh, that's pretty good, I feel.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
So
What's like a
and $10 minimum no matter what, because you will lose money on some loads. Like there's Monster, for instance. They were our biggest customer at the time. They're probably still the biggest customer. We didn't want any service. We wanted their shit to run as smooth as possible. Everybody got their freight like as soon as possible, and on time. And like if say we were moving, just to make it easy, a load of freight from Chicago to St. Louis, which is like 250 miles or so. Say whatever customer is paying us $1,000, like if we really need a truck, we'd pay $1,200. So we would lose $200 as a company on that load, but whoever made that sale would get $10 anyways.
okay.
But like what I did,
But in layman's terms, though, Dave, at the end of the day, you are either a company like Monster, all these guys who are in the trucking business, and you make the connection.
yes,
That's what it is.
yes, they outsource to us to find the truck drivers because it's not like popping something in the mail to like send to your grandma.
Yeah.
You can't just call up a trucking company and be like, hey, we got this load of Monster here, go deliver it, because they need to find a load to come back. They might not run Chicago to St. Louis. They might run Chicago to Indy, and that's it. So it's our job to find the trucking companies willing to do it, and willing to do it for hopefully what's a big profit margin.
Yes. Okay. So what is a let's stick with the example you gave me. A shipment of Monster, maybe one 18-wheeler of Monster, Chicago to St. Louis.
How much we would charge?
Yeah.
Monster paid well from what I recall, and that's what it would be about, and we would probably move that lane for $800, but it depends on the time of year.
Yeah.
Like if you're moving a truck to an area that has a ton of freight, it's supply and demand just like anything else. Like they're going to have an easy time finding a load to get from St. Louis back up to Chicago.
Yeah.
So they're not just burning all the gas and overhead.
Now is that
without freight.
Is overhead included in that 800?
No, that's just their flat fee. That's what they get. Sometimes, I mean, you could break it down into like fuel advances and stuff. There are times when we would pay for their gas just to entice them to do it.
Sorry, so explain that. So 800 is what the trucker would get.
That's what the trucking company would get, yes. Okay. And Monster would pay us $1,000, so there'd be $200. That's what we get, and and as a company, we would do that like 3,500 times a day. But some loads, like when I started being really successful at it, we were we had this thing called the open board, and I don't know if I'm like giving away any proprietary information, so I'll just keep it short, but it just lists out all the freight we have available to move. And typically the more money in the freight, like this company is paying us $10,000 to move this load, you know that you can find a company to move it for much less than that. So I had
So it's all about the difference.
It's all about the difference, right?
Got you. So
the spread is what we called it.
Got you. So you're all like, you see how much the company's willing to pay, and now it's like, man, what can I find?
Right.
The cheapest trucking
Can I
company?
find a truck for $500?
Yeah.
And then you make 20% of that $500 on top. But we moved all over North America. So I would move sometimes from Mexico City all the way up to like Quebec, Canada. Mm-hmm. My best lane was Los Angeles to Quebec. We had this freight. It was empty PET cans, which these are PET cans right here, where super light load. So the gas, you're not spending as much on gas because the heavier the truck, the more gas you're using.
Yeah.
And it had like $10,500 in the load. I was moving 5 a day, every day with this Canadian company out of Toronto, for like $6,500 US. So gotcha. I had that $4,000 spread. On top of that, I was doing 15 other. Hopefully like up to 15 other separate loads on top of that with his biggest spread. Yeah. And that's when like by 9 a.m. every day I was like,
that's it.
But I only had like maybe 6 or 8 months of that. That was like the real money I was making.
Yeah.
Like, because we got our commission checks only on the 15th of every month.
Yeah.
On the 1st of every month, I was just making $1,300 or whatever. But the commission checks were like fucking fat.
What's the largest commission check you got?
Like $8,500.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's a fucking.
Yeah. And I was doing
nice
that. Yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing that for like 8-ish months before Barstool.
Yeah. That's sweet. So essentially the businesses are in the pool. Where it came to you is like you really were working with the trucking companies.
Yeah.
Like you weren't talking to Monster, right?
No.
Yeah,
so So half the company is working with the trucking company. Half of the brokerage is working with the trucking companies.
Okay.
The other half's finding the customers that need freight to move.
Got you. And then essentially, is it contracted off? Like, did you guys have them specifically, or were they going to other? Like, were they going to Coyote or stuff?
I'm pretty. They relied on us for like 80% of their. It was some huge number, and Monster, like Americans guzzle that shit like water.
Yeah,
it's the number one hijacked freight. It's number 2 hijacked freight after copper, because copper you can melt down and sell it and make a profit, and no one will have any idea what happened to the copper. With energy drinks, you can steal a truck of it, pop it on the black market, get your money, and it'll be consumed by us as fat ass Americans before they have any idea where it went. Yeah, so it was the number one hide. So Monster, they paid us a lot of like millions upon millions upon millions a year. Obviously not me, the company.
Yeah.
To move all that.
Interesting. Speaking about product, I have a product that you would like a lot, Dave, from Warrenville. Have you heard of Factor yet?
The meal prep service,
Yes,
right?
the meal prep service.
I have used Factor many times. I am a big fan of it.
Yes,
Big fan.
yes, exactly. They sent me a bunch. It's really good stuff. Okay, so Factor, it's obviously you can help fuel up fast with ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and tackle everything on your to-do list. They offer delicious, flavor-packed options on the menu each week to fit a variety of lifestyles, from keto to calorie smart. Vegan plus veggie and protein plus, prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians. Each meal has all the ingredients you need to feel satisfied all day long while meeting your goals. And if you're looking to mix it up, you can add a protein to select veggie plus vegan option for your meals each week. I mean, listen, if you don't like to cook, these meal prep services are tailor-made for you.
It's the best.
Tailor-made for you. So this May, you can get Factor and enjoy clean eating without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh flavored packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/dogwalk50 and use code dogwalk50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code dogwalk50 at factormeals.com/dogwalk50 to get 50% off your first box. Go do it. Check them out. They offer really good stuff. That's no bullshit there. So make sure you're checking out Factor. All right, so back to the game and everything. So at what point did it feel, so it took like a year or two before you felt like you're like, all right, I got the hang of this and like I'm making good money?
I'd say a year and a half, yeah. About a year and a half.
Okay. And it's not as much turnover as much as like the normal people think.
For my company, no.
At least
I worked for Echo, which was at the time, I want to say, the second biggest next to C.H. Robinson. And I'm pretty sure C.H. Robinson has their own trucking company on top of it, which makes it a little easier. But no, not really at all.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like the opposite of that.
What was the worst aspect of the job? Was it having to deal with people who are a little rough around the edges?
Yeah. I got motherfucked all the time, but like I would
What would you get motherfucked about?
Freight being late, truck being late. Like I'm working from a computer. I can't, drive the fucking truck myself when it's on the other side of the country. So yeah, you got bitched at here.
To the people waiting to receive the monster in St. Louis.
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Hey, motherfucker, where are they?"
Yeah,
and then you got to deal with
pissed
them.
off truck drivers that like, because they all want the latest freight possible because they're the ones paying for the gas a lot of times.
Yeah.
Obviously, they get reimbursed on it by their companies, but so like you could show up, you'd think you got a load for 10,000 pounds, and it's 25,000 pounds that that makes a difference.
Huge, yeah.
And people, I would wake up to calls at 2 a.m. from truck drivers looking for receivers that are closed that were supposed to be open 24/7, shit like that. But I mean, it's work like anything else.
Yeah.
It wasn't all fun, but like as a whole, I did enjoy it.
Now, was there ever like a drag out fight you got with a truck driver where you thought you were gonna maybe?
I worked with this company in they're in Mira Loma, California, and I would run them up and down the Pacific coast up to either the Seattle area, Northern California, or the Portland area, all because it's all connected by one highway, Route 5, I want to say it is. But I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Actually, randomly enough, after I got into the Cusack shit, one kid that sat next to me for like the last 2 or 3 weeks that I worked there never really said a word to him outside, like, "Hey, what's up, man?" Like, he sat directly next to me. He started motherfucking me on like Reddit and shit, and it got sent back to me through people that I used to work with that I'm still friends with there.
Oh, no shit.
And I'm like, who is this fucking guy? And I sent it to my boss. He's like, "Oh, that guy, like, one, I'm not going to say anything to him because he's become like one of the absolute best earners in our company. So like, you can fuck yourself."
Yeah.
And 2, like, he's a loser. Don't worry about him. Like, I wasn't pissed, but
Did you wait? So he worked with you at the time, so he knew you were. Who
Yeah,
you were?
yeah.
Oh,
so
Damn,
he
what-
was just like, "Oh, this guy, you should have heard how he talked to people on the phone, and I know exactly what incident he's talking about." This. I forget exactly what this company, they demanded nothing could be over 10,000 pounds. They all had to be palletized. So sometimes you could just throw shit in a truck and it'll be all loose and like it gets all dirty and gross.
Yeah.
Monster, for instance, it's all palletized. So you just need the pallet jack, pull it out, and you're in and out in 20, 30 minutes, whatever. I thought, I didn't lie to him or anything. I thought he was getting just a clean load, like in and out, nice and light, like you'll be getting another load in 20, 30 minutes, whatever. It wasn't like that. He was there for hours and hours and hours, and he's like, and he's just motherfucking me. I'm like, and I'm like, you've canceled so many fucking loads on me, you fucking cocks, like screaming at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
And bosses are around and everything. They don't care because like I was in the right.
Yeah.
And but it's kind of cutthroat like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not working with a bunch of, polished professionals. You're working with truck drivers and trucking companies. They're sitting there with their little name tag, like mechanic patches, basically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't really mind that part of the job, though. It was just part of the job.
Yeah. Was the culture as, I don't want to say Wolf of Wall Street because that shit doesn't exist largely anymore. But it does have a reputation of being like happy hour every day. People are drinking from the keg.
We drank on Fridays. Like the company would bring in like pallets of their own booze for us, and we could drink the last few hours of the day on Friday. I never really did because I want to get the fuck out of there on Fridays, but people would stay after. But yeah, as a whole, you got a bunch of 25-year-old kids making well into the six figures. It's going to be a party scene,
For sure.
I didn't fraternize too often with coworkers, but I had my like core group of people that like as I'm not a shit where you eat guy. So I kind of kept to myself. But yeah, it was fratty, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, where those parties get like crazy or like,
I never went. I'm not gonna.
I'm sure you can't disclose a lot.
I have such a good story that I can't tell. I'm sorry for the cliffhanger right here, but I can't tell it because I don't know if it's true, and I don't want to sue or anybody if it is true, and I don't want to bring my old company into it because I still I still like that company.
Makes sense. Now, but, I have a guy that I do another show with, and if I did something like that to him, he'd be like, "You don't abide by the rules of society."
I know. I'm breaking the rules right now. It involved 3 ways in alcohol at company parties and pregnancies and
there we go.
Never showing faces again once there was like paternity suits and stuff.
Yeah, and like listen,
that was prior to me working there though.
That's crazy, but listen, like I think scandalous shit can go down in any company. Yeah. So it's not exclusive to the logistics companies. They just get more flack because of how young the culture is, I feel.
Right.
At least the way it seems.
There was one guy did get fired because like I never played on any of the softball teams, but they have a bunch of softball, volleyball, whatever intramurals. Yeah. I guess he was arguing with the ump at a co-ed company-sponsored softball game, and he shoved the ref over, like he table-topped him over the bench. Yeah. He got fired for that. I didn't know the guy. Yeah.
That's kind of risky business.
But like every single year, there was at least 1 or 2 firings after the Christmas party, I feel like.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you get a bunch of kids that have a lot of money for the first time ever at a booze-fueled event,
Yeah, I mean, I work for 2 different companies, and I could think of 2 different, maybe not like super scandalous, but definitely 2 different stories where like, oh, that person probably has the scaries going in on Monday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I think, like I said, it's not exclusive to the logistics.
I think that you probably would assume that I run my mouth a lot. I, like, in a setting like that, obviously rumors spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
So I was very careful to keep to myself because of that.
Yeah.
Especially considering we were still part-time for Barstool at the same time.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that. Nobody like cared or anything, but like everybody knew that. So like I was very careful about that stuff.
Makes sense. Were you allowed to dip at your desk?
I was, and I never didn't have one in.
Never didn't. So 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
You just had a permanent Shaw dog and that bottom lip.
The very first day I worked there, it's funny because they give you like the syllabus basically of expectations and employment code and all that stuff, and it had a dress code, and it's like button-down shirt, like nice pants, like no hats or anything. That's how I showed up the first day of work. Everybody's in jeans and a t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
Hats, hoodies, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I was afraid to dip, and I was like clawing my fucking eyes out come like noon. So I snuck out to go to lunch, and I was just like sitting behind the building dipping, looking at my phone. And then once I realized that was the last of it.
It didn't matter. So it sounded like a pretty relaxed environment. But my question is, what time was the day over?
I got there. So the first probably year, this is exactly, I was so broke at the time because I was living like downtown already. So I was paying for myself. I should have never gone to North Central. Student loans were fucking crazy at the time.
Yeah.
Thank God for that job because I knocked a ton of them out at the time. But for the
You were
first,
making good money, right?
it took a year though.
Yeah.
It took a year. The first year I started working there, I walked. It was 2.43 miles. I walked every day. Temperature didn't matter to me.
2.43 in the dead of winter.
In the dead of winter, I would get to work
God.
at 6 a.m. and I would leave at 5, and I would walk to and from work. And then once I started making a little more, I started doing an Uber pool, and usually it was people that I worked with that like lived in the.
I remember those days.
And then I would
Uber
just
pool days.
Uber to and from every day on my own and pay like $20 a trip. And that's when I was like, you know what? I should just buy a car. So that's where the Nissan came from.
Yeah.
But I would get there at like 6 a.m. More probably 6:15.
Yeah.
Leave at 6, get there at 6:15, and then you're there through 5. It was long days.
That's prime gritty days with the Uber pool days. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're just grinding it out. You're like, man, I need
For
a
$2.
ride, but I'm so broke. So I just need
There was
to,
times when I was like grabbing gobs of change just to throw them in the bus if it was raining out.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
In the 66 bus.
Yeah, I've definitely been in the Uber pool days. I think, and there's nothing wrong with it either. It's wiser if you don't mind being. And it's not a big deal. But
I didn't ever like being in the car with someone else because if they want conversation, you're not getting it from me at that time of day.
Yeah.
Oh, where you work?
Yeah, for sure.
Not with you, so stop talking to me.
Especially when it's so early.
Yeah.
Wait, so what I have heard things about, not your company specifically, but logistics in general, where they hold you there till 5 no matter what though. Was that the case with you?
Yeah.
What's the point of that if you were, like what was their rule on that?
I'm assuming it's changed because of the pandemic, but it wasn't something they had to go out of their way to enforce. It was just like assumed that's when we were going to be there, and like no one argued it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like if you ducked out at 3, would you get in trouble?
I would, like, if I had something going on, like a dentist appointment, I would just be like, hey, I'm dipping out. Like I would just give them a heads up, but I wouldn't leave unless I had to.
But you know those people that kind of go rogue at jobs, and they just kind of like just start marching to the beat of their own drum, I guess. Like there was nobody always who just cut out at like 4:30 and never said a word. Like was it that strict is what I'm asking.
From what? Yeah, nobody really did that, but it was kind of.
So at 5 p.m. it was like the school bell. Everyone just.
For the most part, yeah.
Rushed out.
Not like the school bell. Like you would finish your day and gather yourself and leave. But
I was just going off of basic.
It was more. It wasn't too dissimilar to Barstool. Like if you're a high earner, you have a lot more leash. There were plenty of people. Like I got to the point where like I said, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, I was watching YouTube videos the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Because I knew how much money I was making myself in the company, and I was like, you know what, I don't need to work the rest of the day.
That's I feel like that's a great scenario to be in.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to someone who, well, they work at Barstool, and once they hit like their sales quotas, they just like, all right, like I'm done for my quarter, like I'm going to Columbia or something, and they just kind of coast it out. Mm-hmm. That's I'm sure there are a lot of salespeople listening and be like, yeah, it's pretty fucking sick. But for someone who's never worked in that sounds pretty nice.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty nice.
That said, like, I'm 34 now, so it would have been 10 years ago. Like, I don't know if I would have been working there anymore.
No, but let me ask, and this is not.
You do get, and that goes for anything. You get burnt out after that long,
No, but correct me if I'm wrong, Dave from Wheaton, but your motivation for work mostly is like you want to make money, you want to have a good personal life and use it for that, right? Like
exactly.
Do you have any have you ever been this is my path? Like obviously coaching was, but you're like I don't make enough to do.
There wasn't enough money in that.
Yeah. So,
I would when the new Barstool office opens, I would love to start that again. It would have to be 2 years down the road because you need to recruit it a year in advance.
Yeah.
But I would love to, because you can do that with NIL now. And
Yeah.
I have guys that have said they would do it with me.
Yeah.
That at the time they were coaching in college still. This is only like 2 years ago. I'm like, hey, what do you is this something you'd be interested in? And they're like, I couldn't because like it'd be illegal recruiting because I'm a college coach. But he's no longer coaching, so I want to throw that idea around there and be like Eastbound and Down meets
For sure.
like Hard Knocks basically, but Barstool version. And I'd be like the butter maker from, and that's what I was. But
that'd be sweet.
I think it'd be good content too to do like a couple
Something
tournaments.
like that.
But with the NIL, you could now sponsor these kids and they can make money off their likeness. So we could recruit and attract like legitimate players,
Big time guys. Yeah, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but like this is not like the move to Barstool. Like you were not. It's not something you're like passionate about. Is like creating content, right? You're good at it. You're fucking funny, but that's like
I always ask myself that. I don't know. I never had like
just knowing you. I never have gotten that like you, because I remember when we got the job offer and you were making a lot better money at
Echo.
at the logistics company than you were when you came over here. And you were kind of like, hey, like, and I've talked about this before. Like a lot of people who don't like their careers, like don't look at it as a perspective of that's your life. Just you work to live your life, like, and then think of your life outside of it.
That's always how I thought of it. Like, I will say I had not the slightest expectation or even forethought that Barstool would become what it has.
Yeah.
Even since we've been hired full time, it's gotten exponentially bigger, and I didn't expect that. And it's I don't want to say a struggle, but it's overwhelming a lot of times, I would say. But I never had like, and this is probably shitty to say, I never had like a dream. I just wanted to like be around baseball, and I knew that as I'm 34, 30-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
When they offered us the full-time jobs, I'm like, it's now or never.
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew gambling was becoming legal, and they were going to want like kind of a flagship in a gambling legal state, a state that's like, with Chicago, that's the capital of the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Big Cat left an indelible mark in the Midwest prior to him moving out to New York before moving back here in a couple months. But it was something I thought, I'm like, you know what, I can take a pay cut right now. I'm young enough. I got enough bankroll rolled up that. If it doesn't work out, I can go back to logistics or wherever,
That was definitely a nice safety net because it's definitely the opposite with me. Like this was what like I was locked in. Like I wanted to do nothing else. You know what I mean? I wasn't motivated by pay. I wasn't motivated. I was just more motivated by, doing something in this kind of space.
I will say when I was in the job interview, one of the questions was how important is money to you? And typically when you think that, If you say money is really, you sound like an asshole kind of, you care about money too much.
Yeah.
They want you to say that because the more money hungry you are, the more money you're making.
Yeah.
And I was money hungry as fuck at the time because I was broke as fuck.
Yeah.
I didn't have a fucking cent to my name most days.
Yeah. And I don't think you're a money hungry person at all. That's not what I'm trying to say either.
Motivated,
but I'm just saying
to
like,
live how I like.
Yes, exactly.
That's what
you're
it
not,
is.
Yes, you don't like besides baseball, which at the time
I like to have fun.
Seemed unrealistic. You were working to live the outside life you wanted, which is interesting because I think a lot of people,
and I don't think that'll ever change.
No,
like I like doing things
unless if you like left Barstool at some point and you were able to get some type of coaching gig.
That would be it.
That would be like a
I will
dream,
say this,
personal, fulfilling experience.
I always I got to a point where I wasn't any good at playing the game anymore, but I still knew what a good player looked like, and I still do. And I do think down the road I would love that, but one of the bad things about Barstool is no major league organization would ever look at me again, and I know that for a fact because the White Sox told me that.
I don't know if that's true, dude. I think
there's no money
change.
in it. There's no money in it.
Yeah, but
the Braves and the Brewers.
But
I talked to them. The Braves were the ones to give me a formal offer. It was $22,500. That was back in 2013.
The Braves offered you for something?
Yeah, scouting position, but you could get a scouting position, right? I don't say that as like I met people when I was coaching.
Yeah.
that put me in touch with people that had hiring powers.
So 22.5 is what?
22.5, yeah.
was.
It would have been out in Arizona, like cutting video.
Got you.
Which I did teach myself a little bit. I could cut, not like what you guys do, obviously, but I could.
Is there a number that you would deem, like, okay? You'd be okay enough.
I've heard horror stories about those jobs too.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like driving around the middle of nowhere and
Yeah. Those have high turnover. You don't make any money until you're like in your 40s a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're not passionate enough to go through that grind then?
I would like to.
Which is fine. It makes sense.
Get like once, I would say probably, I don't know, not for another 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Because Barstool doesn't last forever either. We all know that.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm not going to be doing this through my retirement age. I'm going to need something. That would be what I would like to do.
Something with baseball like that.
My old man, he told me years ago, he's like, when I retire, I'm just going to be a starter at a golf course one day. You know, just because like I'll need something to do.
Yeah.
And baseball's always been the only thing I've ever given a shit about. So,
Yeah.
But right now, like it wouldn't be.
There's not even a number where someone was like, hey, we'll give you 80 grand to like be a scout in Arizona. Yeah.
I got a mortgage to cover now.
Yeah. But you'd seemingly uproot your life.
It would be a lot more than 80 grand.
Got you.
A lot more.
Got you. Interesting, Dave. Dave from Wheaton. Interesting stuff. I don't know. Everyone's got this other path because it's like you see so many people, especially now, with like the comedy scene, like about to take off in New York and the sports guys moving here, where like people like it's like their dream to like be making sketches and like shit like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's just a different spot than, you know, some other people at this company, I guess, where you're like, hey, you're almost here by just being ingrained into the old system. You know?
Yeah. That's what it is.
And it like it's worked out great for you, you know. I feel at least.
There's been some hiccups.
There's been a lot of hiccups for sure. But I still, you know, I'd still say like a personality like you is what makes this place unique in my eyes, at least.
I'd say that for all of us.
Yeah, but you're different though, Dave. Like you're like you just living your life. There's something.
That's been the weirdest thing about this whole come up of Barstool is like, I don't know how to handle that. Do you know what I'm getting at?
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know how to handle like people fucking recognize me and shit. It's like, why in the fuck do you care who I am? I'm just
totally
here sitting at this bar getting drunk like I would have been if I was still working at Echo, you know?
Yeah, for I think for people
it never.
Yeah, I think for people like us who achieve that in our 30s, there will never be an aspect that's not like, wow, this is crazy. You get more used to it. And
you get more
yeah.
used to it, but it will never not be just weird to me at the same time.
Yeah, but being fans of like the blog and stuff, Dave, and that's how literally both of us are. Fan to the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fan
like
to the
we
job,
are.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. We are like any prototypical like, hey, we like this sport. We're gonna keep showing up, and then we're gonna get a job in the front office. You know, I think that's normal, right? Like you know, because
I would say so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a correct way of how to enunciate. I had something in my head, but it just slipped me. But yeah, I think like it took me a while to even when I was posting on the blog, like that first year, to be like, wait, like I used to hop on that blog every day and be like, oh, El Presidente blog, bing, big cap. I'd click on it. It took me a while to be like, wait, people are clicking on the Eddie. You know what I mean? It took me a while to like really like process that.
I'll take this back. I don't think we get used to it. We just know how to handle it better.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess.
That could be a way. That could be correct. I don't know. All right, Dave. I enjoyed this chat with you.
It was pretty good.
This was.
I thought I was getting, a sabotage.
Yeah, I know. See,
I came prepared.
Exactly.
I had my mental notes where I was gonna, start slandering you.
See, it's not always a sabotage.
No,
sometimes this is a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's something that we've talked about, talking about your your previous job. We talked about this probably since I started the show in 2019. So
the only reason I'm so open about it is because I truly like my old boss. Like like I said, I could call him up right now and
it would be
I want to get beers with the guy soon. And that goes for like all my higher ups there. I still stay in touch with most of them.
Yeah.
And that made it, and I'm sure it's not like that for everybody in their experience in that field, and I know it's not like that for everybody, but for me, I really, if you're a 24-year-old looking to make money, go work at Coyote, Echo, wherever.
Go do it.
You'll make money if you tough it out for a year and work hard.
Yeah. All right, David, thank you. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for watching. We will see you all on Monday.